to go over square footage versus gross living area versus basement really quick, because we have some new people on here, and it's really important that you understand that. It'll help you get along with appraisers a lot better, I promise. So I'm going to use this. This is my drawing pad, electronic drawing pad, and I'm just going to draw something here real quick. I'm going to draw a house. Okay. So here we have a house. The horizontal line is ground level. And of course you have some of the house above it and some of the house below it. Some people, when they look at an appraisal report, they'll see that the appraiser they don't have the square footage in the basement located in the same area as the rest of the square footage. And so they'll say, well, why didn't you include the basement, Mr. Appraiser? It's got to be worth something. Well, the appraiser does include it. He just separates it out from the rest of the area. And so there's this term called gross living area, or GLA for short. That's the technical term I'm talking about. When an appraiser usually is talking about square footage, they're thinking in their brain gross living area, which is all the area that's above the ground level. So it looks like that. And then all the area below the ground level is what we call the basement. Like that. The problem or the discord comes in is when real estate agents talk about square footage. Usually they're talking about above grade and below grade all lumped together. And a big reason for that is the MLS does that, at least the Wasatch Front MLS, adds it all together as all square footage. And so who's right and who's wrong? Well, if you're talking about just square footage, the real estate agent's right if you're talking about strictly just the word square footage. But remember, the appraiser often, as human nature, we often hear what we want to hear. And the appraiser's thinking when we talk about square footage, gross living area. So when you talk to the appraiser, make sure you separate out the two for him, because then you'll be talking about apples to apples. It'll make it much easier to talk to each other about without getting into an argument. And then the next question is, why does an appraiser separate out the basement square footage from the above grade square footage? The reason is most basements, at least up here in Utah, are not finished at the time of construction. And so it's really, it's misleading to give the same value for the total square footage of the house as if it was finished, like you would the gross living area. So the appraiser separates out the basement from the upgrade, or from the GLA, so that we can be the most accurate. And that doesn't mean to say that we don't give value to the basement. We just include it on a separate line, and we separate it out in two areas. We separate it out in what's the unfinished or the shell of the basement. We give that one value, and then we add more value on top of that for the finished area of the basement. So we do include the basement. We just separate it out where unfortunately on the MLS it just lumps it all together. Which brings me up to another thing to make mention of is when you do a price per square foot that the MLS breaks down for you, just be really careful of that price per square foot. It's not totally accurate. One of the reasons is because that price per square foot includes unfinished basements and finished basements. So if you want to be exactly right, you want to just compare finished basements to other finished basements, and then that price per square foot is going to be more accurate. But that's not usually the case when you're looking at different comparables. The other reason that we separate out the basement, not just because some are finished and some aren't, but also because some are finished to a higher quality than others are too. And so when a house is usually finished on the gross living area, it's usually standard on, you have upgrades and things like that, but it's usually pretty standard on the quality of finishes that are put in the upgrade. In the basements, it's like the wild frontier. You got some people putting in drywall ceilings, drywall walls, things like that, and you have other people putting drop ceilings in, fiber board on the walls, things like that. So it's just, there's a whole gamut of differences in quality on the basements. So that being said, I'm going to give you another trick question. So you guys already answered this correctly. Again, here's the house on the slope. And the question I was asking before, part of the base, part of the lower level, this level right here, is below grade and part of it's above grade. The appraiser would still call it a basement, even though some of it's above grade. And then this level up here, of course, is all GLA. So that's a little bit of a trick question. That's even on walkout basements too. Walkout basements also are considered basements, but the appraiser recognizes that if a lot of the basement is above grade, we'll give more price per square foot on the basement area too. Most appraisers will do that, but just remember we separate out those two lines.